Some people walk into a room and the center of gravity shifts. It's a force you can feel, an invisible current that pulls all attention toward them. You know these people. The question is, are they born with this power, or is it something they built? The debate over charisma is a battle between destiny and discipline, where brilliant minds disagree completely. Both sides have a point worth hearing and consequences worth fearing. Where do you stand? By the end of this, you might change your mind. The first argument is the most intimidating. It claims charisma is a biological lottery, a jackpot you either hit at birth or you don't. This view suggests that some people are simply running on superior hardware. Their brains are wired differently. For example, researchers have linked variations in the serotonin transporter gene, known as 5-HTT-LPR, to traits like extroversion and a lower tendency toward anxiety. A person with the long form of this gene might find social situations inherently less stressful and more rewarding. Their baseline neurochemistry makes it easier to be open, expressive, and connected. It's like playing a video game where your character spawned with a permanent buff to social stats. This biological advantage extends beyond genetics. It's about the very structure of the brain. The mirror neuron system allows us to understand and empathize with others by simulating their actions and feelings in our own minds. Some people seem to have a more active and finely tuned mirror neuron network. When you talk to them, you feel deeply understood because on a neural level, their brain is literally mirroring your emotional state. They aren't trying to empathize. Their brain does it automatically. They get you. This creates an immediate, powerful bond that feels almost magical. Then there are the hormones. Higher baseline levels of oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, can make a person more trusting, generous, and better at interpreting social cues. Simultaneously, a less reactive cortisol system means they experience less of the fight or flight stress response in social settings. Imagine navigating a tense meeting. While your heart is pounding, their brain is calmly processing information, noticing subtle shifts in body language, and finding the right words to diffuse tension. They appear poised and in control because their biology keeps them that way. From this perspective, charisma is the outward expression of an optimized neurochemical system. It's a physiological state. This sounds convincing and a little depressing, but there's a problem with this purely biological explanation. If charisma is fixed hardware, how do you explain the quiet student who becomes a captivating public speaker? Or the awkward engineer who rises to become a beloved chief executive officer? People demonstrably change. That brings us to the other side of the debate, which argues charisma is a skill. It's a technology that anyone can learn and master. This second camp sees charisma as a set of identifiable, learnable behaviors. Researchers like John Antonakis at the University of Lausanne have broken it down into a checklist of charismatic leadership tactics. These are concrete actions. They include using metaphors and stories to make a message emotional, asking rhetorical questions to engage an audience, and expressing the sentiments of the collective by saying we instead of I. Antonakis has shown that managers can be trained on these specific tactics, and in a matter of hours, their charisma ratings from employees skyrocket. The change is measurable. The method is repeatable. From this viewpoint, charisma is like learning a language or a musical instrument. The so-called naturals are just people who grew up in an environment where they got thousands of hours of practice without realizing it. Perhaps they had expressive parents or were rewarded for storytelling as a child. They received positive feedback for certain social behaviors, which reinforced those neural pathways until they became automatic. What looks like an innate gift is actually the result of a massive, unaudited training program that started in infancy. For the rest of us, the curriculum is just more explicit. We have to go to the gym consciously while they've been living in one. Think of an actor preparing for a role. They study posture, vocal tonality, and patterns of speech to become a character. Similarly, one can practice the components of charisma. You can learn to hold eye contact for a fraction of a second longer to build trust. You can learn to pause before making a key point to build suspense. You can practice active listening, where you summarize someone's point back to them to show you've truly heard them. Each of these is a small mechanical action, but when combined, they create the effect of charisma. It's a system of inputs designed to produce a predictable output, connection. And yet, We've all met someone who tried this and failed. You can feel it. The person who is using a technique on you, their warmth feels manufactured, their eye contact feels predatory, their storytelling feels rehearsed. They're following the instructions, but the recipe produces something off. If charisma is just a set of skills, why does it so often backfire when learned deliberately? This is the blind spot for the "it's just a skill" argument. It can't fully account for authenticity. This leads us to the synthesis, where the real complexity lies. The truth is that charisma emerges from the feedback loop between biology and behavior. Your biology gives you a starting point. It's your default setting. But your actions can, over time, rewrite those settings. For example, pushing yourself into challenging social situations, even when it feels uncomfortable, can gradually desensitize your stress response. Your cortisol spikes might become smaller over time. You are literally training your nervous system. In this way, learned behaviors can reshape the very biological predispositions that made them difficult in the first place. The authenticity problem also finds its answer here. The reason practiced charisma feels fake is because the person is operating on two different levels. Mentally, they are executing a checklist: maintain eye contact, nod, smile, but their internal state, their actual feeling, is one of anxiety and self-consciousness. We are incredibly sensitive to this mismatch. We detect the conflict between the projected signal and the actual emotional state. It feels dishonest because true charisma is congruence. It's when the external behaviors perfectly match the internal emotional state. The goal of practicing charismatic behaviors, then, is not just to master the behaviors themselves. The deeper purpose is to use those behaviors to change your internal state. At first, you might be acting confident, but by repeatedly adopting the physical posture of confidence, by speaking with the vocal tonality of confidence, you are sending feedback signals to your own brain. This is the logic behind power posing research, but applied more broadly. Your body can lead your mind. After enough repetition, the act of confidence starts to generate real confidence. The behavior eventually summons the feeling. This is the long, hard road to authentic charisma for those who weren't born with a shortcut. It's the process of making a conscious effort so many times that it becomes an unconscious competence. The techniques stop being techniques. They simply become how you are. The actor stops thinking about the role and simply inhabits it. At that point, the distinction between natural and learned dissolves. The result is identical. A person who can connect, inspire, and influence. A person who, when they walk into a room, changes the feeling in the air. This reveals the core tension of the entire debate. It's about being versus doing. We admire charismatic people because they seem to just be that way, effortlessly. What's uncomfortable to admit is that this state of being might be a destination, arrived at through thousands of acts of doing. It's a mastery so complete it has become invisible. What we call a gift might just be the shadow of a debt paid long ago in a currency of practice and discomfort. Some people just started paying earlier. So what do you think? Is charisma a genetic lottery, a gift you can only admire from a distance? Or is it a technology of human connection, a set of skills waiting to be downloaded and installed through sheer force of will? Where do you draw the line between who you are and who you could decide to become?